Okay, good morning. Please have a seat. We're going to begin. Welcome to our family service. The ringing of the kansho signifies the start of the service. Please sit quietly. We'll now have meditation. Please rise for the Vandana Ti-Sarana in English and in Pali, found on page 165 in the brown Praises of the Buddha book, 165. Thank you. Please be seated. Please turn to page 46 in the Jodo Shinshu Red Book for the Sanbutsuge. We'll be chanting the Sanbutsuge. Thank you.
Gato Ainin Do Shin Shoujo Ito Gakoku Keraku Anon Kobun Shinmyo Zega Shinsho Hongan no Hi Rikisho Shoyoku Jippo Seison Chie Muge Joryo Shison Chiga Shingyo Keiryo Shinshi Shoku Dokuchu Gagyo Shojin Ninjo Fuke Namandabu Shiku Doku Byodo Se Isai Don Bodai Shin Ojo Nembutsu.
Please rise, turn to page 2 in the red Jodo Shinshu book for the recitation of the Homages, page 2. Hard it is to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult it is to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation to this present life, we may not be free from ill-faring in the oceans of birth and death for kalpas. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures. We go to the Buddha
for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depth of the teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we all with one accord live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness.
Even through myriads of kalpas, hard it is to hear such excellent and profound teachings. Now we are able to hear and receive them. Let us try to understand the Tathagata's teachings. Please continue to stand for Gatha, Splendor of Evening Sky on page 156 in the Praises of the Buddha, page 156. Thank you. Please be seated. This morning, our speaker is Reverend Bert Sumikawa. Thank you, Reverend.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
How are you today?
Fine.
It's a very nice day. It's been like this for a little while now. It's always great to see all of you here at the Windward Buddhist Temple at this regular Sunday service. Because it's still a challenge living in this COVID-19 pandemic. And so we truly appreciate your support of the Honganji. Well, if those of you who were here the past 2 Sundays and today as well, as we have been having lay assistants to lead the service as a group, soon they will do it solo. Slowly we're trying to wean them off. They've been practicing various sutras, both in Sino-Japanese and English, diligently for about 2.5 hours every Monday. They'll continue to do this except for remembrance and major service Sundays. Well, last Sunday we were treated to a mixed plate Dharma message by our own Neil Yamamoto, where he gave an expression of the Buddhist teachings of Dharma through skillful means, or upaya in Sanskrit. He used the example of the iconic lokomoko as an example of interdependence, or pratitya samutpada. As you are well aware, Buddha gave 84,000 different messages to reach people of different persuasions through skillful means. Well, his message was through the plate lunch, or lokomoko. But I can't say that my message is a dessert. Because the dessert is often sweet and delicious, and that would be pretentious. So I guess you might call my talk a side dish. Because as you're all well aware, a side dish is something that you can take or leave. It's up to you. It's yours to choose. You may fall asleep or you may stay awake. Let's put our hands together as I read the words of Shinan Shonin from one of the hymns of the Pure Land that's found on page 34 of the red Jodo Shinshu service book. The light of wisdom exceeds all measure, and every finite being receives its illumination that is like the dawn. To take refuge in Amida, the true and real light. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We're all aware of the recent occurrences that is almost an epidemic of the shooting that has been happening across our country. We are truly shocked as we witness the massacres of innocent children while in school, a place where we expect them to be happy and in a safe place. Have we become sensitized to this type of violence? This has been happening month after month, and most recently, 19 children and 2 teachers. And while they have not been all buried yet, we were alerted to yet another shooting. Actually, 33 incidents since Uvalde. These occurrences were quite rare back in the day. However, as these occurrences happen, and especially after Uvalde, government leaders from both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, have offered different opinions of why these massacres have occurred and how to resolve these ongoing shootings. Some of them feel that these things happen because of mental health issues, but they offer no real solutions. They want to arm the teachers with guns to protect them and the students. They want to have only one door in the school buildings. Their thinking is that guns are not the problem, that guns do not kill people, but it's people that kills people. Well, the people on the left believe that the way to curb gun violence is to raise the minimum age to purchase guns to 21 years of age, and to outlaw military-style weapons and ammunitions. Well, as you know, both sides are right, both sides are wrong. Both of these alone will not cause a decrease in these massacres. Buddhism teaches us that everything happens because of causes and conditions. So why? We ask ourselves why, and what is the reason that people have suddenly resorted to killing and randomly destroying innocent victims? Buddhism teaches us that the first step in solving any problem is to follow the Four Noble Truths. It teaches us to reflect on ourselves, as we are all overwhelmed by the problems of today, especially with the ongoing problem of the pandemic that has left many with economic challenges, loneliness, alienation, and a sense of defeat, especially among our younger people. We can understand that these may be likely causes behind the violent behavior that we are facing today. In the collected works of Shinran, on page 488, he writes that we are full of ignorance and blind passions. Our desires are countless, and anger, wrath, jealousy, and envy are overwhelming, arising without pause. To the very last moment of life, they do not cease or disappear or exhaust themselves. In this passage, Shinran Shonin revealed to us that all of us are burdened with the so-called blind passions of gas, that of greed, jealousy, anger, and stupidity. Stupidity meaning an unawareness of our thoughts, an unawareness of our actions. The larger Sutra of the Buddha of Infinite Life describes this in detail. And I have alluded to the passages in some of my past Dharma messages as well. In our life, we always desire something, and we often tend to be envious of those who have things that we do not have. Frustration and anger often follows when things do not happen to go our way. When things do not go the way we want, we get frustrated, and anger often arises within us. We often become victims and become controlled by these blind passions. The result of this, and may lead to us to become violent and commit crimes against those we do not like, or those that we perceive to have caused hindrances to our well-being. At our opening aspiration, I read from Shinran Shonin, and I'd like to read it again. The light of wisdom exceeds all measures, and every finite being receives its illumination that is like the dawn. So take refuge in Amida, the true and real light. In this passage, Shinran explains that Amida Buddha is the light, that the Buddha's light shines upon all of us, as in every finite being. It is as if we are living in the darkness and cannot see our own blind passions. However, as we are illuminated by the Buddha's light, it is like the dawn, and we will be able to become aware that although we may have these blind passions within us, we try our best not to be controlled by them. Very often I'm asked by some of the Japanese ministers to look at their Dharma messages and to make suggestions. In one of these messages, this minister related this story that succinctly describes a person of blind passions and how he was still illuminated by the Buddha's light. It is a story of a man named Zentaro who was a farmer, and his wife, who was a housewife and in charge of keeping their home in order. One day in the summer, he had to work in the mountains, and he returned home that evening feeling very tired and full of sweat and dirty. And as always, his wife prepared his bath and cooked his dinner when he returned home. But one day, when he returned home, his wife was not there, and so the bath and dinner were not prepared. Zentaro was too exhausted. So when his wife returned, he said to her with irritation, "Why did you not prepare the bath and the dinner? What's the matter with you?" Or rather, "What's the matter with you?" As his wife was busy that day, she got annoyed and replied, "Wait! I'm getting ready right now." She replied with irritation, "Oh, you expect me to do everything?" She didn't say that. Listening to her, Zentaro lost his temper, and they had a full-blown argument with each other. He became completely out of control and reasoning, and attempted to beat his wife with a wooden stick that was laying nearby. In their home, there was a family butsudan, an altar. When he was about to beat his wife with a stick, Zentaro accidentally laid his eyes upon the butsudan. He came upon the realization that Amida Buddha was watching him. Zentaro regained his composure, went in front of the butsudan and said to the Buddha, "Amida Buddha, I am sorry that my true self appeared. Namo Amida Butsu." Maybe you heard this story before, or something like it. Maybe it was you. Don't we all have some Zentaro in our heads? Do you oftentimes get irritated when things do not go your way, or do not happen as you wish? Or maybe when people don't agree with you about something or another? Zentaro often listened to Amida Buddha's teachings, and he truly accepted the Buddha's compassion, but he was still possessed by the blind passions. When he was on his way home, he thought to himself, "Oh, I'm on my way home. I'm going to take a bath. I'm going to eat a nice dinner, drink some sake." As he was so tired, when he learned that the bath and dinner were not yet prepared, he became irritated. As always, Zentaro truly treasured his wife, but at the time he became completely controlled by his blind passions and almost violated her. However, though, by seeing Amida Buddha in the butsudan, he became aware that he was being controlled by these blind passions, and so his violent nature subsided, and he returned to being his everyday loving husband. There is a story I want to relate to you, another myokonin. A myokonin means a wondrous, excellent person. Shinran praises devout practitioners of the Nembutsu, describing them as the beautiful white lotus flower in the secular world. If you open your rich Jodo Shinshu service book and turn to page 17 later on, this is in the Shoshinge that we chant periodically. we read, all foolish beings, whether good or evil, when they hear and entrust to Amida's universal vow, are praised by the Buddha as people of vast and excellent understanding. Such a person is called a pure white lotus, or a myokonin. This other person I wanted to describe to you was a man by the name of Saichi Asahara, who lived in a small fishing village and who lived in dire poverty, eking out a living making wooden clogs, or Gatha. Here's a picture of a Gatha in case you don't know. And if you came from one of the plantation camps, you would have had one of these, because you have to walk through the rain and the mud. The problem was, though, is that it gets stuck in the mud, and your feet would slip out from under them, and you end up getting mud all over you anyway. Or you could slip and fall in the mud. To walk with the Gatha, you have to walk flat-footed, because if you try to walk normal way, you go forward like that, you get mud on your toes anyway, and then you slip and fall. So that's the Gatha. Did you have a Gatha at home before? Well, they call them gators, I guess, in the modern world. So like how they call zori, slippers on the mainland. What is it called? Go-aheads, right? Because you got to go ahead like that, and walk. But they call them go-aheads. Saichi had a deep understanding of the Shin Buddhist teachings. One day he requested an artist to paint his picture, his portrait. However, in addition, he made a strange and unusual request. He asked the artist to paint horns on his head, like a demon, or oni, as it is called. The demon's horns are a metaphor of blind passions. Through lessons learned in the Buddha Dharma, Saichi recognized that he was always possessed by these. And so through reading stories in the episodes of Zentaro, Genza, and other myokonin, they teach us that the Buddha Dharma reveals our true nature to us, that we are continually being surrounded by these blind passions. But through listening to the teachings, we will be able to strive not to be overcome by it, not to be controlled by them. As peoples of this society, we all feel overwhelmed by the many problems that we're all facing today. Reverend Tennis wrote in a recent newsletter that we need to recognize that we're all part of the problem, and that as Buddhists, we need to deeply reflect on the teachings that we have received and look deeply into ourselves to discern the sources of these problems, and then work hard to change them. First ourselves, and then the world around us. Thank you very much for listening, for reflecting on the happenings occurring around the United States, the Ukraine, and other parts of the world. Have a great Sunday. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Sensei. I'm sure all of us can relate to not having dinner ready when it's supposed to be ready and somebody being upset. Please rise now for Gatha. It's an oldie but goodie. At our altar, page 16, at our altar.
Buddha
Thank you. Please remain standing for the Nembutsu.
Changes like the dew. We have no permanent self. Buddha teaches us this law to all. Thus I bow to Amida.
Thank you. Please be seated. This concludes our service this morning. We have announcements.
Yes, we do.
Prudence. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Before I start, I want to introduce, we have a guest today, Claude Shelverton, and he's sitting in the back row next to Dennis. Welcome. Call him Chip. Okay. Thank you, Reverend, for your talk. You know, I was told that the Japanese traditional bride's big hat covers her horns. Is that right? Isn't that something? And yet the groom doesn't wear a hat, you know? It's just the wives have to wear it, cover her. I know.
Christian churches, the women all have to wear hats in the home church.
Oh, same reason, yeah? Thank you, Merle, for serving as MC, Dennis as our greeter, and Joy for playing a piano, and Ryan, as always, to record our services, and Lisa and her team is providing refreshments today. Let's see, just a few announcements. Last week, we talked about the buddy program, and the sign-up sheet is still out on the table. And the explanation for the buddy program is there. Tomorrow, there's a group of us going to the Japanese cemetery in Waimanalo for the annual Obon visit. So those of you that signed up, please be here about 9:30, that's right, it starts at 10, okay. Next week is Father's Day, and it's also Juneteenth. So you know that last year, I think, the legislature made Juneteenth a holiday in Hawaii. So maybe South Dakota is the last state in the union that may not have a formal holiday for Juneteenth. I understand we're doing Takuang again on the 23rd of this month. So people that can help, you can meet here in the morning. And the group that does the temple, the groundskeeping, they will be here as well. Let's see. Now, we're having our Hatsubong and Bong service on the 3rd of July. So anyone who wants to have service for their loved ones, to please bring one of the following for that service: the kakucho, the ihai, or a picture. And then we'll place them up here. And as Reverend would call their names, then the families and friends can come up and offer incense. Let's see. I think that's all I have for today. But today is second Sunday, so it's Bingo Sunday. So Cynthia will explain all that. Sure, what else you have?
Okay, there's nothing to explain about bingo, but we're going to have bingo. And we have a, later on the side. But we have a lot of prizes, so hopefully you guys win. Got to pay attention to your cards, okay? So anyway, we have a lot of puzzles that we received this morning. So we're going to be selling the puzzles at the table right outside. So please take a look, because some of them are really hard. So I know you like hard, very difficult things, so it's good puzzles. And then the other thing we're going to be selling is, Roy? Oh, the mango chutney. So Roy will have a table out there, so please visit him. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so before we go for refreshment, let's turn to page 126 in your red book for words of thanksgiving. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Itadakimasu. Thank you.